So let us see what is Ruby today and what do we mean when we say Ruby on Rails. So what we are going to do is we will introduce Ruby programming language and we will use Ruby to template web pages and also try to learn about Ruby on Rails and what are its features, benefits. So what is Ruby? Ruby is a programming language. It is an object-oriented language and it is interpreted. Though these are only 3 points, but the details explains the power of Ruby. Means Ruby is an object-oriented interpreted programming language. So what do we mean when we say it is interpreted? Why it is not compiled or why it cannot be compiled? It is not compiled like Java. The code which is written is directly executed by an interpreter, but not a compiler, but an interpreter. What is interpreter? It compiles or sees and converts line by line, each line into the machine code. So type commands into interpreter and we see the immediate results. These are the representation of Java and Ruby as far as their compilation or interpretation is concerned. In Java we have a code, then we have a compiler, then we have a runtime environment, JRE, Java Runtime Environment, and then finally the computer computes it. The computing resources or computing devices work upon this code. While in Ruby, the code is interpreted and directly consumed by the computer. Then what is this ROR, Ruby on Rails? Why it is so famous? Why people are actually talking about it so much? Because this is a development framework for web application written in Ruby. And since everything is either on web or are being transformed to the web, therefore ROR becomes important. And you see various sites which you are aware, they use ROR. So what are the advantages of this ROR? Means Ruby on Rails. The standard features and the functionality which generally are required by user or the developer, they are built in. And you also have a predictable application organization. Means the way you generally see things in your life or day-to-day life, it is made such that it is predictable and hence easier to maintain and easier to get things going. There are ways of installation of Ruby. If you are a Windows user or a Mac Linux user, for Windows, just go to the download at rubylang.org. Just go to scroll down and try to find Ruby on Windows. One click installer is there. Just follow simple instruction and you have to include Ruby gems because this will be required for Rails installation later. That is why we have Ruby and then Ruby on Rails. And as far as this Mac and Linux are concerned, if Mac Linux you are talking about ROR may be there, right? If somewhat or you will not find it, then this is the link where you have to go. This is a simple file, you can say, or a program in Ruby. This .rb, this shows that you are talking about a file which is a Ruby file. .rb means Ruby. And put as simple line for displaying hello world. Put as. C guys or people who have known this C and C++ are aware of this put as function. They have used this for putting a string. So what is put as versus this print? So put as add a new line after it is done putting a string, This is actually analogous to SOP of Java system out.println. While print does not add a new line, which is just removing ln from system out.println, that is system.out.print. How to run Ruby programs? You can use Ruby interpreter, that is Ruby hello world.rb. Just you have to type Ruby and the file name, and Ruby indicates or tells the computer to use the Ruby interpreter. And you also have an interactive Ruby, IRB as you said. You have IRB console. You can easily get immediate feedback, and you can test Ruby features using this IRB. What about comments in your Ruby? This is a single line comment. Hash is a single line comment, and if you want a multi-line, then you start with is equal to sign or assignment sign rather, and end with the assignment sign. So this is the starting one, this is the ending one. About declarations of Ruby, there is no requirement, no need to declare a type. An assignment is just similar to Java. So those people who are new to Groovy and Ruby, if they are aware of Java, then this is a linear learning or zero linear learning curve. If you are aware of Java, there will be no problem to you. So assignment is similar to Java. Let us take an example. For this is x is equal to double quotes hello world, that x already become treated as a string, and this is a fixed number, or in other languages you can indicate or term it as an integer or say long. Here it may be a float or a double, but here in particular case in specifically Ruby, this is float, and this is a range from 1 dot dot to 10. Again, what about objects? Now we are in the era of object-oriented programming, and much more addition to that. So everything has to be an object. Everything is an object in Ruby. What are the common types? That means if you have an object, you have to have a class. So you have a numbers, strings, ranges. These are the classes on which these objects are being made. Then you have nil, that is Ruby's equivalent to null. This is also an object, so nil is also an object. We use dot notations like Java objects. For example, you can find a class of any variable, x is equal to hello, x dot class, and you can call this string. And you can also find the methods of any variable or class using x is equal to some string hello, say in this case x dot methods, then string dot methods. So you find numerous methods for any variable or class. There are many methods that all objects have. For example, you include this question mark to the method names, like this, like this. It is a Ruby naming convention of Boolean methods. Okay, you use or you place a question mark in the method names, and this is how Ruby knows that this is a Boolean method. See, this is question mark. Numbers are also objects. As I said, everything is an object, so number has to be an object. And you have different classes of numbers like fixed number, float, etc. This is, see, you can use a function like this, a Boolean function I said, question mark. Then you can just call some -42 dot absolute, and the result will be 42. You want to round 3.4, it will be just 3. 3.6 dot round, then this is round, so it will go to 4, it will go to 3. Ceiling you want to find, ceiling is the upper limit, upper integer limit 4. Floor is again the lower integer limit, that is 3, and 3.0. If this is true, 3 is not 0, so it is false. Then you have string methods. Just use string dot length, call dot length, you'll get the length. you just say dot nil, it will be something, because hello world contains something, so it will not be it will not be true, it will be false. Then this is nil, so dot nil will be this has to be true actually. And Ryan greater than Kelly, is it that? Yes, of course, because this in a chronological or alphabetical way, it is true. So hope you can understand this. Simple multiplication by 3, it goes to 3. Then you can just add using plus, and you can just use dot index. Where is W? You can see it is at the 6th position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6th position. Actually, it starts with 0, and that is why it goes to 6. We compute this space also. Then operators and logic. This is similar to Java, like multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, etc. And also, it is same as Java and Python, right? It is same as Java and Python, and OR as well as and OR, both can be used. And strange things happen with strings like string concatenation and multiplication. You also have a case and a point, means there are many ways to solve a single problem in Ruby. Then you have if, else and end. So you must use else if instead of else if. No space, please, no space. You have to use else if, no e. Notice this use of and. What is this? It replaces closing curly braces in Java. How? If age is less than say 30, put as this one. Else if only ELS IF, no E, then you put a end here, right? It shows or it indicates your or directs your interpreter that okay, this has come to end. Then you have inline if statements. Original if statement, like if age is less than 105, put something and end. You have inline if statement. What does it mean? This was the customary, we know about this, or we have used a similar construct in our programming languages. But in this inline if statement, you just put as, you say something, and then if age is less than 150. So this is in just one line. This is called inline. You have also for loops. You can use ranges in that for I in 1 to 10. That is for I equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. You don't have to do that. For I in 1 to 10, you just just write some statements. And you can also use blocks. We'll see maybe later in the next week. And if you want 3 dot times to put Ryan, you can call it, and you can use blocks inside. And you may need a more advanced range for your for loops, because we have ranges here, and bounds of a range can be expression. For example, for I in I 2 to the power 5 or 2 into 5, put s. This also you can do. You can also use while loops, and this while loops can also use blocks. We'll see it later. And this cannot use I plus plus. See, you cannot use I plus plus in while loops. You start with I equal to 0, I less than 5 or something, then you execute your expressions, and I is equal to I plus 1. And you also have unless. This is the logical opposite of if, right? If you are using if, the opposite is unless. So for example, you have unless age is something greater than or equal to 105, and if you are using with if, then this is a comment actually. So what you are trying to do is if age is less than 105, here using greater than or equal to 105. So unless and if are logical opposite. Then you also have until. So this until is the logical opposite of while. Unless opposite of if, until opposite of 5. Okay, you can specify a condition to have the loop stop, like you don't want to continue it. So what you can do is I equal to 0 until I is some with greater than some value, that is you want, or this is while I is not greater but it is less than 5. So these are opposites. The parentheses are really not required. You just put as something and you increment the value. I plus plus is not valid here. What about methods? The structure of method will be DEF. DEF, this is for making it is type independent, just like templates we used in C++. So just write DEF. This is the return type. You have a method name and then you have a parameters inside. And these are various statements. You end with end. For example, def. This is a function name. You do something and you place end. Then parameters, you are not required to give any class type required. You just name them, because this is the power of present programming languages. Just def cumulative sum num1 num2, it just computes the value, return it, and end. And if you want to call the method, just print the result puts. Inside this you call cumulative sum and pass two values. Everything will be done for you. Ruby methods returns the value of the last statement in the method, just like Groovy. So what you do, whatever you do inside your function, the last statement will always be a return statement. So you can really ignore this return sum, and you are not supposed to write sum is equal to also, because num1 plus num2 will always be some sum, and this will be return. Then what about user input? You can obtain user input from getS. For example, name, you just write this getS name, and you just place hello name, whatever comes in this name. So you can use this chomp to get rid of the extra line. How? Put hello and then name, whatever name is there, dot chomp. You can get rid of the extra line that may be there. And it also removes trailing new lines. Now changing types, you may want to treat a string a number or a number as a string. This is quite obvious when you are programming. So you would really want to treat a number as a string and vice versa. For that you use to underscore I. You can convert to an integer, convert to a float, convert a number to a string. Like 3.5 and 2i, that becomes an integer from a string, and all these examples. Then in constants, in Ruby, constant begins always with an uppercase, right? They should be assigned a value at most 1 because they are constant. And this is why local variable always begins with a lowercase, because uppercase is reserved for your constants. For example, w, this is constant, width is 5. You define some function, do something with the function. So these were some introduction to Ruby and Ruby on Rails, and some programming aspects and features which are available on Ruby. So we'll be